And welcome back. Thank you for keeping it KTN Business Today. My name is Abi Agina. And before we took that break, we mentioned that we'll be getting into an important conversation around the competition in Kenya. Do we have fair competition in the first place? And how far have we been able to achieve issues of market distortions in Kenya? And we're joined by none other than the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya, Francis Wangome. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Abby.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year too. I
know it's been a tough run for the authority since you were formed, if I'm not wrong, 2 years back. A lot of issues have happened in the Kenyan space, of course, cutting across telecommunication, retail stores, and a lot of Kenyans haven't quite understood the mandate of the authority. If you could quickly walk us through, what is the Competition Authority all about?
Thank you, Abby. Yeah, it's true. The Competition Authority of Kenya was established by an Act of Parliament, which came into force on August 1st, 2011. Mm-hmm. So we should be celebrating our 5 years this year. And the mandate of the authority is to regulate market structure. Mm-hmm. And regulation of market structure, we do this through analyzing and approving all mergers and takeovers in this country. Mm-hmm. Number two is that we have the mandate of regulating market conduct. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about market conduct, is that we are focusing on when two players come in hand mm-hmm. to distort the forces of supply and demand, mm-hmm. and therefore distort the prices which are being offered to the consumer. Yes. And that is what we call concerted practices, that is price fixing and cartelization. Mm-hmm. Then also market conduct, which we are always focusing on, it's what we call unilateral conduct. When a dominant player, based on the market shares they have in the market, and based on what I may call the market power they have, mm-hmm. they start distorting the forces of supply and demand mm-hmm. for their own good. Mm-hmm. The other role of the authority is to advise the government in regard to consumer and competition issues in the country. I would like to share with the viewers that the Competition Authority has the primary jurisdiction in regard to competition and consumer protection in the country. Mm-hmm. And then the other mandate of the authority, it's in regard to consumer protection. Correct. And consumer protection is that we have been empowered by Parliament to check on what I may call misrepresentation, that you are offering a good and saying that it has these ingredients and at the end of the day it doesn't have. Mm-hmm. Then the other issue, it's what we call misleading advertising. You know, lying that your good can achieve this kind of benchmarks and yet it cannot achieve. Mm-hmm. Then the other issue we focus on, it's what we call unconscionable conduct, where based on the knowledge of the consumer, you may lie to the consumer that I'm giving you, for example, in the banking sector, yes, that this loan, you're going to start repaying this, or this is the interest, but at the end of the day is that you start introducing what we call dripping charges mm-hmm. as you move along. Mm-hmm. So generally that is the mandate of the authority. Mm-hmm. In terms to the hurdles we have faced for the time we have been on board and also for the last 1 year, it's in yes. regard to the issue you have highlighted. Many people don't know what is the mandate of the authority. Correct. And it's not an issue which we only face in Kenya. It's because the market economy has been introduced in this part of the world not so long ago. Right. And when market economy was introduced, some people thought that it's a free-for-all field. Mm-hmm. But I always ask people, can you let Manchester United to play with Arsenal without the referee, or can you let Gor Mahia to play AFC Leopards to play without the referee? Mm-hmm. And therefore, the Competition Authority is there to ensure that mm-hmm. the market players in the open market is that they are playing within the dictates mm-hmm. of the fair competition laws. Interesting.
Of course, thank you for putting that quite clearly. You've mentioned a number of issues, but I'm interested in something you brought up around market conduct, which is something that continues to define how corporates, how the big players in the industry operate here in Kenya. Talk to us about the issue about cartelization, as you mentioned it. We've seen a lot of issues happening around price fixing in different market segments. subjects, things that have actually rubbed consumers the wrong way. A lot of consumers are saying there is nobody protecting us. They've gone to the Consumer Federation of Kenya, no action is being taken. Now we have an authority. What are some of the key issues that you would be making decisive judgment on when it comes to fairness and striking out price fixing practices?
Yeah, let me start by sharing that price fixing is the most, what I may term as egregious form of competition infraction in the world. Because one thing, it deprives the consumer their, what I may call, disposable income. You know, when people price fix, is that they always fix their prices above the market rate.
Yeah.
And what has the authority done in regard to that? There is a matter we are about to conclude, and we have been continuing since the end of last year, on where some advertisers of the Outdoor Advertisers Association, they had agreed to fix the minimum rates of advertising using their billboards along the highways. And they had said that you cannot price below 150,000. You know, that is not to protect the consumer, but they were trying to protect what I may call their profits. And
their interests, of course.
Definitely, to the detriment of the consumers. And we came on board after we were given what I may call a smoking gun. A smoking gun, they had agreed, we have agreed that we cannot fix below this, and anybody who fixes below this is going against our tenants. And we have fined those people a total of, up to date, a total of 14 million Kenya shillings. And the other issue we came on board, it's when Association of Kenya Insurance had told their members when they were tendering for the medical scheme for the National Intelligence Service that they cannot price below a certain price. I don't know how clever they were to agree to fix prices for National Intelligence Services. But the National Intelligence Service came and they complained to us, and we were able to find the association some money. Then in the retail sector, the two supermarkets, where Tuskys and Equala, they had agreed to fix prices within their 5 stores within the CBD. Within the CBD. And we find them a total of 5.3 million. And according to impact assessment, because I always believe in impact assessment in any decision the authority takes, which we have done with the World Bank, is that we have seen that we have saved the poor consumer who usually shops in those retail outlets in the CBD, a total of 72 million cash shillings. That is something which I can say it has been quite a positive development by having a competition authority of Kenya on board. But the issue is that as we move forward, is that we have realized is that people may be doing this because they still in those what I may term as hangovers of price controls. You know, they didn't know that when you agree on prices, they have not woken up to the reality. And that is why the authority has come up with what we are calling a special compliance process, where we have said in the agriculture sector and also in the finance sector, on June 30th last year, we gave those associations a window to come and tell us that we have been doing this, these are our minutes, so that we can interrogate what they have been doing, and then we can give them a clean bill of health. And this special compliance process is coming to an end on February 20th, and whoever will not have come and brought the documents is that we'll start the investigations and will involve the DPP in terms when we conclude the investigations and get evidence that they are continuing with price fixing.
Wangombe, how severe is the issue of price fixing in the Kenyan market, especially in the cereals area and of course in the financial services? How severe is this?
I wish I know how severe it is, because cartels always operate below the radar, if I may use that term. But what we have realized is that the associations have been acting as a platform for setting prices, not only in the cereals, not only in the agriculture sector, but also in the insurance industry, as I've shared with you, where one of the Association of Kenya Insurance had told what members to do it. But what the authority has done is that we have prioritized in some of the sectors which have the greatest impact to the poor consumer. And we have focused our enforcement activities in the agriculture sector, where we feel, if at all we reduce cartelization in that agriculture sector, especially in the inputs sector and in the marketing of farm outputs, is that we'll be able to alleviate levels of poverty in this country by about 1.2%. The other issue where we are focusing on is cartelization in the finance sector. And we are driving the finance sector because we feel that this is one of the key issues of driving investments in this country. Cartels, just like in any other part of the world, is that they exist, but in terms of where we have prioritized on the agriculture sector and for the finance sector, because we cannot be everywhere at the same time. And we hope by the end of this financial year we'll see some improvements in terms of forces of supply and demand dictating the prices in some of these sectors.
Of course, I cannot let you go without asking you the recent developments around the Communications Authority of Kenya, where President Uhuru Kenyatta signed an amendment which technically lifts some of the powers that were bestowed on the Communications Authority of assessing issues of market dominance and abuse of dominance. From where you sit, your namesake, the Director General at Communications Authority, Francis Wangosi, is up in arms saying that this particular move is going to water down their fight in this sector. What are your thoughts, Mr. Wangom?
Let me first put it this way, and I don't purport to be speaking on behalf of Parliament. What I believe in, let me start this, Abi, is that in public service, it's not how powerful you are. It's you play and you become effective within the powers you have been given, however minimum they are. And then the other issue is that Parliament, according to my reading of the law, has the powers to legislate. So that is my opening statement. But my reading of that provision, which has become law, or which is going to become law soon, is that it has nothing new. It is just setting clarity to whatever is already existing. For example, the Competition Act, the existing Competition Act, Section 5 is very, very clear that the Competition Authority of Kenya has the primary jurisdiction in regard to competition and consumer welfare matters. And it goes further and says, when the decision of a sector regulator and the Competition Authority contradict each other, the decision of the Competition Authority shall prevail upon that. So you can see is that it already exists. Then let's go to what is referred to as Statutory Instruments Act. Section 5 still, it dictates very well that any public regulator who is coming up with regulations which are affecting competition or which are going to affect businesses, they have to consult the expert in competition. Who is this expert? According to the Competition Act, the expert in competition issues is the Competition Authority of Kenya. So what you can see is that the law already exists.
But where do you draw the line? Because the Communication Authority is the regulator in the communications industry, and they want to preside over every matter dealing under their armpit. And why is it that CAK now comes in?
Let's first appreciate the role of a sector regulator and a competition regulator. What I may share with viewers is that our sector regulators, from where I stand, is that they should focus on competition for the market. And the Competition Authority focuses on competition in the market. So the sector regulator focuses on where the markets are not contestable, where you cannot bring in many players to play within the same field. For example, you cannot have 2 or 3 farms transmitting electricity in this country, because at the end of the day, that is a cost to the consumer. But how can you bring in efficiency and competition in that transmission? It's what I call beauty contests. That you tell the players that we have this tender for transmitting electricity. We want to concession for 25 years. People come and bid. And when they bid is that they can say, my loss for electricity will be this percentage. I'll be charging this tariffication, and then you're giving that kind of, that concessionaire. And that is what we call competition for the market. Competition in the market, it's in the markets where there's what we refer to as contestability, where you have many players in the market. For example, maybe in the mobile money transfers, in the voice telephony, that is where now the Competition Authority comes on board. Now, going back to the question you asked me about that most of the mandate has been given to the Competition Authority of Kenya. There's no extra power which has been given to the Competition Authority of Kenya, which is not in existence at the moment. In fact, it's just seeking that clarity, and in fact, it has concretized what has already been done by the Communication Authority and the Competition Authority of Kenya. You may be aware that we had come up with a memorandum of understanding, how we are going to be sharing information and how we are going to be consulting on these issues.
Yes.
Maybe memorandum of understanding from where we stand in this country, they never work. I don't want to dwell on that. And I think that is why Parliament now thought that it's good to put it in the amendment which was passed by the President the other day.
So Angus is just crying foul?
I'm not saying that.
For no reason?
I'm not saying that. I think maybe he was misquoted. He hasn't told me that. Yeah.
I can see you're trying to protect him as well.
No, I'm not protecting anybody.
Well, interesting place to end this conversation. Many thanks for coming over for this particular interview. Thank you very much. We've been speaking there to